Hello and welcome. If you're gearing up for the IELTS exam and English punctuation feels like a confusing puzzle, you are in the perfect place. Today, we're not just going to memorize rules. We're going to build a super simple algorithm to solve that puzzle once and for all. Let's get right into it. Does this look familiar? You know, losing those precious points on your IELTS writing all because of a little misplaced comma. It is so frustrating, especially when your Russian grammar intuition is screaming one thing, but the English rules demand something totally different. Don't worry, though. We are about to replace all that confusion with a clear, reliable system. So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why this is such a common headache. Then, we'll walk through a simple two-step check. After that, we'll look at the 3 types of words that connect your ideas, and we'll finish up by tackling those specific Russian traps that catch so many people. Okay, let's kick things off with the big why. Why does this one little area of grammar cause so much trouble and have such a huge impact on your final writing score? You know, here's the real issue. Your deep knowledge of Russian grammar, it's a massive advantage in so many ways. But when it comes to commas, trying to just translate those rules directly from Russian to English, that's where the problems start. It leads to these really common, predictable errors that examiners spot from a mile away. And yep, it can directly pull down your score for grammatical range and accuracy. So, how do we fix it? Well, not by trying to memorize 100 different rules, that's for sure. We're going to use this simple 2-step algorithm. Every single time you get to a break in a sentence where you think a comma might go, you're just going to ask 2 questions. That's it. This system will give you the right answer pretty much every time. Let's get into the first and honestly the most important step, the independence check. Everything else is built on this foundation. Okay, before we check for it, what exactly is an independent clause? Think of it this way. It's just a group of words that could be its own complete sentence. It has a subject, you know, the who or what, and a verb, the action. The economy grew. Yep, that works. She passed the exam. That's a complete thought too. Simple, right? So here's how you actually use step 1. You're writing your sentence, you get to a natural pause, and you look at the chunk of words that comes after that pause. And you ask yourself one question. Could this stand on its own as a sentence? Does it have a subject and a verb? Now, if the answer is no, if it's not a complete thought, then what we have is called a fragment. And when that happens, the punctuation rule is actually decided by the very first word of that little fragment. And here are the rules for that. If that fragment starts with an ing word, like causing, or with which or who, or an ed word, like located, the rule's easy. Use a comma. But, and this is a big but, look at the bottom. Our first 2 traps. If the fragment starts with that or than, you do not use a comma. We'll come back to these, because they are super important. Okay, so what if the answer to our first question was yes? What if you've got 2 complete sentences, 2 independent clauses, and you want to join them? That brings us to step 2, finding the connector. So we're at another fork in the road. If you're joining 2 complete sentences, but you don't have a joining word in between them, you basically have one main option, the semicolon. But you have to be careful, the ideas have to be really, really closely related. And check out that warning on the left. Just using a comma here is a massive error. It's called a comma splice. Now, if there is a joining word, our next job is to figure out what kind of word it is. And this right here is the final piece of our puzzle. It turns out there are only 3 types of connector words you need to know. And once you know which category your word is in, you will know the exact punctuation to use every single time. This table is your ultimate cheat sheet, seriously. Category A, we call them the fanboys. It's an easy acronym to remember. They get a comma before them. Category B are the imposters, like however and therefore. They have a trickier rule. And category C are the subordinators, like although and because, where the rule actually changes depending on where they are in the sentence. Let's break each one down. First up, category A, the fanboys. That's an acronym for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. The rule here is just beautifully simple. When one of these words connects 2 complete sentences, you always put a comma before it. Just like you see here. He studied hard, comma, but he did not pass. Perfect. Next up, the imposters. These are words like however, therefore, moreover. They feel like simple connectors, but grammatically, they're different. They need a much stronger break. That means you need a semicolon or even a period before them and then a comma after them. Look at the example. Tuition is high, semicolon, therefore, comma, many students need loans. That semicolon word comma pattern is absolutely critical. Burn it into your memory. And finally, category C. These are words like although, because, and while. The rule here is all about position. If the word starts the whole sentence, like although it was expensive, you've got to put a comma in the middle to separate the two ideas. But if that same word is in the middle of the sentence, you usually do not use a comma before it. Okay, this brings us to what might be the most important section for your IELTS score. Let's really focus in on those specific mistakes that come directly from translating your Russian punctuation habits into English. All right, trap number 1 is the word that. In Russian, it feels so natural to put a comma in a sentence like «Я думаю, что», but in English, you just don't. It's «I think that this is a good idea». No comma. This is a non-negotiable rule. You have to get this one right. Trap number 2, comparisons with the word than. Again, thinking in Russian might make you want to put a comma there, like in дороже чем, but in English, that's always wrong. The sentence just flows without any break. This car is more expensive than the other one. No comma, period. And our final huge trap is the word because. In Russian, it's totally normal to put a comma before потому что. This is such a common mistake on the IELTS. Just remember our rule for category C words. When because is in the middle, connecting two ideas, there is no comma before it. We stayed inside because it was raining. Clean and simple. So let's pull this all together. Here is your final mental checklist. Anytime you're feeling unsure about a comma, just run through these 3 questions. 1. Check the second part of your sentence. Is it a full thought or just a fragment? 2. If it's a full thought, what's your connector words category? Is it a fanboys, an imposter, or a subordinator? And 3, do a final sweep for those Russian traps. That, than, and because. Look, this algorithm isn't some kind of magic trick. It's just a logical system. If you practice it, you can turn punctuation from something that causes you stress into an area where you feel confident. You can stop guessing and start using a clear set of rules that will help you get the score you really deserve. You've got the tool now. It's time to put it to work.